Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us is Lauren Silbert. She's the General Manager on the Balance to review budgeting 1.0 month for National Financial Literacy Month. Lauren, it's great to have you with us as always, especially during National Financial Literacy Month. And budgeting is very key right now, particularly the environment that we're in, unprecedented times in the market where budgeting really does pay off when you find yourself, in a situation such as this. Let's talk about what a budget is. How do you define it? Why is it good to create one?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Jill. So I'd say the most important thing about understanding, what and why budgets exist is that budgets are really there to create a summary for you about how much money you have coming into your home and how much money you have going out of your home. And really the why you're doing it is to understand not like how to restrict your spending in a certain way, most efficient way that you can spend that money. So a lot of people want to make sure that they're spending it on the things that they know they're going to have to expense. So I know a lot of what we call like needs, rent, a mortgage, things that you can't really avoid spending your money on. And then there's like a little split of things that you want to do, which we'll call wants maybe, and then stuff that you want to do in the future for savings. So making sure that you're actually allocating your income based on the most efficient way to spend that money to make sure you're achieving your goals as a family or an individual.
And I think it's a very positive thing. You brought up a great point that it's intentional when you create a budget. And I think that's what people need to remember. So let's get into the 6 steps to creating a budget with our first slide theory, starting off with the first 2, looking at your financial statements and recording your sources of income.
Yeah, so I think the first and most important step of creating a budget is really understanding actually, what are you spending your money on? A lot of people miss this step entirely. And I think this is where most people have that, oh my gosh, aha moment of saying, oh, I didn't realize I was spending 35% of my money every month on going out to restaurants. So just coming to terms with everything that you're spending your money on is what's really important. The second important part is recording every source of income that you have. You really have a good record of how much money is coming into your next.
All right, in our following slide here, this is really coming to terms with it, making a list and really focusing on your expenses.
Yes. So what we like to say is creating a list of those expenses. So you took a look at all your financial statements, you know how much money you're making. So what you want to do is make that list of expenses of things that you've recognized from your financial statements and things that you are spending on a regular basis. And this really leads into that fourth point, which is understanding what are those types of expenses. Are you spending money on things like we talked about earlier, like a mortgage or rent or car payments? And those are what we call like those fixed expenses. So you're going to have to spend your money on those every single month. And then there are some variable expenses. So that might be like going out for dinner and eating out and purchasing gifts or traveling. And those may change, and definitely the amounts may change on a monthly basis, but understanding which ones have a little flexibility versus don't is really important to start making your budget.
All right, and the final 2 steps here, creating your own personal balance statement.
Yes. So really what you are going to do now is combine all of that income information that you collected with all of the expense information you collected. So what you want to do is understand how much money you have coming in and how much money you have going out on a monthly basis. And this what allows you to do prioritize sort of like where your excess income is really going to. And understanding, how are you spending? And then really that final step of the budget is like, are you happy with how you're spending that money right now? And how do you make adjustments so that you are spending your money in the most efficient way? So making sure you're taking care of all of those, fixed expenses. You are managing the variable expenses to a percentage of your income that you are comfortable with, and that you are really making sure that you're saving money for the future. I think that's a really important part of a budget that a lot of people forget. They're just like, oh, I have to spend this money on rent and then this money on going out. And really a huge and important part of what we think a budget is to make sure you're saving for the future as well. So making those adjustments at the end is a really key part to making sure you're in control of what that budget is.
And Lauren, to wrap up here, what if I just started out with budgeting or I don't have enough and now we're faced with a situation where the economy has slowed down due to COVID-19? Perhaps I may have lost my job or have less income coming in. How would you prioritize your debt?
I would say we always like to say prioritizing your debt on like doing that exercise of like fixed versus variable expenses that you have, understanding what you have more flexibility on than what you don't. I think right now a really good thing to do is take a look at what those fixed expenses are. Take a look if you have any loans or credit cards that you need to pay off, and really prioritize those things based on what the priority is in your life. But also, let's say highest to lowest interest rates is a good way to think about that. But I think a really good part about doing that is like you understand what all those fixed expenses are, and you could actually contact all of your lenders and your banks and have a real conversation with them. A lot of people are dealing with unexpected situations right now. So a lot of the institutions that are out there are willing to work with you on how you are paying down that debt that you have. But making sure you understand what those fixed expenses are is the first step to actually solving them and really being able to deal with it when you aren't sure exactly what's going to be happening over the next couple of months.
All right, Lauren, excellent advice as always. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks so much, Jill.
All right, thanks for joining me on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.